what does a light have to do with anything? And that was my world and my introduction to biophysics. And I started studying the work of a German physicist by the name of Dr. Fritz Albert Popp. And he started talking about the biophotons. It's not just about a particle of light, it's a carrier of information. And he notated that there are 1,000 biophotons in every strand of DNA. So I quickly understood that our entire communication system runs on living conscious light, which are biophotons. And that light, it brings the highest state of coherence, which is structure. And when we don't have enough of that light coming into the DNA, we are running at a biological deficit at the very foundation of what we are.
So I'm here today with Gary Kiss, and this is going to be a very intriguing conversation. And Gary is a very unique individual who has something like no one else on earth who I've ever met. And one thing I'd like to start with, Gary, is your story as far as where you are now. What's so unique about what you've discovered, and how did you get here?
Ian, that's a great question, and thank you for having me, Andy. What can I say? Unique people attract unique people like yourself. So how did I get here? It really, I felt it started with my feeling of how is it possible that I can have everything materialistically in my life that a person could want and need. And I had all of the friends and family and people around me. You know, I lived on the beach, right across the street. There was 24/7 entertainment, live music, beautiful beaches, sunsets. But yet when I came home, Ian, I felt a void inside of me. And that was a big question for me because I didn't understand what it was I was going through. Why am I experiencing this? And kind of around the time of the pandemic, when things shut down, I had to live with myself, which was one of the scariest things that I discovered because I had to live with my thoughts and it was so silent. And I was hearing, you know, the million voices in my mind, the nonstop mind chatter, not being able to sleep. I'm wired but tired. My nervous system is on overload. I mean, physically, I look great. I was in shape physically, but energetically, I was biologically depleted, and I couldn't understand what was going on. But more importantly, I think was the most disturbing part, Ian, was that feeling, that void on the inside of me, that no matter what I did, nothing was working. Nothing was working. And that I can safely tell you that was my initial moment when I believe, what can I say? The universe was trying to show me a different path. And I had a friend that told me about, man, you should try meditation. And I'm like, he said that to me like a couple months ago because I did disclose how I was feeling, this sense of loneliness. And I was so bored that I resorted to trying a meditation. That this is the truth. And you know what? After, I fought my mind for 30 minutes to try to get silent. I had to do the guided meditation. And at the end of it, Ian, I felt a little bit better. I felt a little bit better. And I did it again the next day and I felt a little bit better. And I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And right away, something clicked for me. I realized in order for me to address that empty feeling on the inside, I had to go to the inside. There was nothing I could have done in my outer world that could have addressed what I was feeling on the inside. That was my first moment of awakening, I would say. And and back in those days, just to give you a little background about myself, I was becoming heavily involved in stem cells. I was consulting with regenerative therapies. I was consulting from multiple doctors and physicians. And because I had these large accounts that were, you know, that I was consulting and brokering for, this is when stem cells started becoming really hot on the mainstream. And naturally, these laboratories started contacting me to develop a relationship with my doctors. And And that's how I was introduced to the world of stem cells. And it was the most fascinating thing for me because I obviously tried it myself and I felt a huge difference. And then I started looking at live blood cell microscopy. I wanted to see how the stem cells worked under the microscope in their environment. I wanted to see how red blood cells work. So I guess, it was a fast start to the world of biology. Right. And I started noticing things like, oh my gosh, like why are the red blood cells, the cells with a beautiful luster and glow of light around it, and they were operating intelligently and as they should. And there were cells that were abnormally shaped, and the cells that were abnormally shaped, they were less intelligent, I would say, and they had much less light around it. And I started asking the questions, well, what does the light have to do with anything? And that was my world and my introduction to biophysics. And I started studying the works of a German physicist by the name of Dr. Fritz Albert Popp.
Hmm.
And he started talking about the biophotons, which are the light particles. It's not just about a particle of light. It's a carrier of information. And he notated that there are 1,000 biophotons in every strand of DNA. But the kicker is we have 93 trillion strands of DNA. So if you're talking about multiplying 1,000 biophotons in each strand of DNA by 93 trillion strands, you're looking at 93 quadrillion, biophotons, which is essentially your entire signaling system. At that point, the mathematical proportions will instantaneously tell you that there is something much more to this. And this biophotonic signal, it brings coherence and information
Hmm.
into the DNA. The DNA disperses that and starts to impart the information into the stem cells, which tells the stem cells what to differentiate into, puts the vitality and the energy and the electricity into the stem cells so it can actually start to multiply and differentiate, but it's also imparting the intelligence. And that obviously is building out our bodies, and that beautiful glow of light we see. Some of the mystics will call it the aura, the scientists will call it the biofield. It's the same thing at the end of the day. But these are a culmination of all of the ultra weak emissions of light being emitted from each and every single one of our cells and our DNA, which is very measurable in today's world. So I quickly understood that our entire communication system runs on living conscious light, which are biophotons. And that light, it brings the highest state of coherence, which is structure. And when we don't have enough of that light coming into the DNA, we are running at a biological deficit at the very foundation of what we are.
Right. Wow. So that's pretty dynamically affecting every part of our being,
Every
right?
part of our
Spiritual,
being,
mental,
physically,
emotional, physical,
100%,
relationships, everything.
everything. Because if you have a lack of light, let's say, that can manifest as bad luck. You're like, why am I staying in this loop in my life?
Right.
Well, it's lack of light. It all comes down to that.
Hmm. For sure. Yeah. Light is energy. Light is life. Light is a glow. I mean, you look at a youthful person, they have a much different glow than an elderly person. Also, the energy levels are related directly. So this ties into brain power in a big way as well. So,
Absolutely, because every single, I mean, in the biohacking world, everyone is hung up on optimizing mitochondria, right? And the big and for neurological aspects, our brain runs on light. It triggers all of the neurochemicals. It triggers all of the neurotransmitters. The light is connected to, I mean, the light dictates our circadian rhythms, right? So, it's everything. It triggers every chemical process in the body. So basically, what I'm saying ultimately is underneath all of the millions of chemical processes we have, underneath all of that is basically our signal. So signal dictates chemistry,
right, cell signaling,
cell signaling.
and like a bioregulator, bioregulator could be a physical thing or an energetic thing, but regardless, it's intelligence and is giving direction. And what I've learned lately is that the brain in our head, people talk about it and say, well, it's just this or just that. Well, no, this is the most important part of our organ system because it runs everything. And when it's compromised, it gets messed up and everything
Yeah.
messes up.
100%, 100%. And I feel like the story. I mean, if you think about it, we have access more than any time in history to, I mean, you see, I mean, you can go to a biohacking event or go on Amazon or go online and you have access to every peptide. There's stem cells, there are peptides, there are a million different red light therapies or vibrational frequencies or vibroacoustics or photobiomodulation. It's all there, it's all accessible. However, we as a society are running at the biggest biological deficit energetically in all of history, and I could tell you why. And I think this goes really deep. When I've discovered this, I really felt like I cracked the code on something that is at the foundation. If I was to summarize, well, if someone asked me the question, well, what do I feel is the biggest issue in society? If it was to summarize this into one sentence, well, the biggest issue in society is lack of light. It's lack of light. And if you were to take a look, for example, at the world that we live in. So the world that we live in, it's so technologically advanced that we are biologically mismatched because the world is so advanced. And everything that is built, all of our infrastructures, for example, cell phone towers or anything that technologically that we're using, the streaming, our computers, our laptops, our phones, all of those things are running on the lowest vibrational frequency, which is closest to death. And you can see that on the Bovis chart of life. Right. When they take these measurements, you can see that between kind of 1 and 6K, between 1 and 3K, it's cancer, negative thought forms, radiation from cell phone towers, and it's the closest vibration to death. 6K, 6 Kelvin, 6,000 kelvins is someone who isn't barely making it in good health. You have to be at least 8,000 kelvins to be in decent health.
Mhm.
People who are at like 20,000 kelvins or 18,000 kelvins are people who are living like the monks who are living in the Himalayas. So you telling me to accomplish that type of health, we damn near need to live in that type of environment. Because when you start dividing the 18K by the 3K, you're still back in the 6,000 Kelvin zone. You see
Mhm.
what I'm saying? So it's really interesting how this is working. That even though we're so technologically advanced, we are the most biologically depleted because even in physics, when you take a look at it, the issue is we cannot absorb light. Even if we stood in the sun all day, we will not absorb light in the way that our parents or grandparents or ancestors did for very legitimate reasons because of heavy metals, because of environmental toxins, because of lack of grounding, because of stress.
Uh-huh.
At least those four factors alone significantly reduces the body's ability to absorb light by more than 50%. By more than 50%. So the biggest attack is on our capability to absorb light because we are beings of light. You're talking 94 as we speak right now. All of our DNA processes should be firing at 94 quadrillion bits per nanosecond. I'm just saying, right? And we're not doing that. We're nowhere near that. And that's when I realized, and I had a lot of these epiphanies and aha moments, and that's when the Eluumis biophoton technology was born. Because if you look on that chart, the thing that is highest to life is a biophoton. It's a biophoton. So it's the only technology in the world, and I like to describe it as, well, what is the most advanced technology in the world? Some may say if you're a biohacker, well, it's stem cells, it's peptides, it's, these Frankenstein looking machines that are emitting some synthetic frequency.
Uh-huh.
And some may say it's food, some may say, right? But the most advanced technology in our world, Ian, it's 4.6 billion years old. It's our sun.
Uh-huh.
Everything comes downstream from the sun. Even plants absorb the sunlight and it creates photosynthesis. Our cells work the same way. Our DNA works the same way. So why not work on harnessing the solar intelligence of the sun without corrupting the information contained in that biophotonic particle? And that was our thinking. And that's when Eluumis, the first biophoton, was born.
Yeah, the sun is soul, and that's the real name of it.
Correct.
Solar, and and then we're told stay out of the sun, or you can take a
Mm.
vitamin D pill, or you can
Yeah,
do whatever other things to avoid the UVs. Meanwhile, there's a ton of benefits in the sun at all times, and especially if you're standing in the ocean.
absolutely. Absolutely. It's a perfect conductor and transfer of solar intelligent energy.
Right.
You know,
So
it's
now
a
getting it into the system and getting that, basically getting ourselves recharged. So because we sleep to get recharged. We go in the sun to get recharged. We just like the eminence from a fire, a bonfire, and the heat that's coming off the wood that stored up all that sun energy and it's releasing it. That's a totally wonderful kind of heat because that's the infrared. It's like the radiant. That's the kind of thing we're looking for. Now, when I first met you at Dragonfly, you had a very sophisticated device that was available. And then as I got to know you more over the years, you had different modalities or different transmission ability. How does that tie into the biophotons?
great question. So the physical device that you're talking about is the actual physical manifestation or the physical structure of what we call the biophoton. And this is what you would have seen and probably experienced at some point. You cannot take something that is of nature, like a biophoton, the highest form of nature. And if you think about it, that you cannot, and notice there are no batteries or no plugs, right? And a lot of people automatically they'll think, well, how is that technology? Well, it's real technology. It's true technology. It's extremely advanced technology. For the fact that you don't have to plug it in, it's true quantum because it's consistently harnessing the biophotonic particles and the solar intelligence from the atmosphere 24/7. And it knows to give you exactly what you need, but nothing more. And in order to do that, you cannot use something artificial to program something from nature. You
Right.
cannot.
Yep.
I can't put this on a plate with some frequency because it's artificial. That's not what we're doing. When others are generating, because they need a power source to generate, we're not generating. We are the source. We are harnessing directly from the source. So it a lot of time and energy and resources goes into making one of those devices. It takes maybe 48 hours to make one. So we can probably make maximum 30 for around 30 to 35 devices at max capacity. And we're almost sold out every month. We now had to figure out a way, how do we spread this energy to the world? How do we give everyone access to this energy? And I said, well, if this is a true biophoton, by the laws of physics, a biophoton is not dictated by time and distance. Therefore, if I put this up on the screen, someone should feel it. And I did, and we did it. And right away, my scientists went to work and created 4 specific biophotons because we now needed to transfer it through the internet without getting corrupted by the frequencies of the internet, right? By the technological distortions of the internet. And she created one to just harmonize the internet. She created one to harmonize the space. She created one to harmonize the environment and collective consciousness, and one that harmonizes and makes you coherent. So that's when we cracked the code that we can actually stream this energy live in real time. And that's when we created the biohealing stream, which is the biohealingstream.com, where anyone, anywhere in the world can log on to that website, subscribe to it. Very, very affordable. And the energy, you will see the biophoton like this with some lights on it, and it comes up on the screen and it's spinning just for attention purposes. And you have access to 2 30-minute sessions per day. And we've designed 21 different protocols, like, for example, a protocol for insomnia, a protocol for anxiety, a protocol for depression, one for digestive system, one for the skin, male and female reproductive organs. There's 21 different protocols to choose from. And guess what? You will have those outcomes. So we had to figure out, we've already conquered and perfected the physical device. It's perfect technology. And it never has to be recharged. You never put it in the sun, and it never will have to be upgraded. And we now had to figure out, well, how do we get this to the masses? And that's when we came up with the idea, well, you can stream movies. People stream movies every day. You stream your Bluetooth, you stream music. Why can't we stream biological energy? And that's what we did.
Now, the sphere, is that a fused quartz crystal, or is there some other things that are proprietary to it?
Yeah, it's more than quartz. It's silica, quartz, manganese, copper, boron, and maybe about 15 to 18 other elements. Check Bohemian crystal. It has all of the highest elements to create the highest form and highest quality of optical glass that is highly refractive. And it has to be like that. Now, that's only doing 10% of the work Because when they come to us, if you take a look at what's in the middle, you'll see this type of geometric shape. That is by design. It took almost 3 years to create that design, very mathematically proportioned. And then even when that's cold lasered in to the center, there's still no energy coming out of it. So it's not because I put this design, the design is creating a frequency. I'm not dealing with frequency. I'm dealing with light particles, not a frequency. So I want to draw that distinction. So even when that design is created in the middle, there's still no energy coming out of it. The proprietary part is when our scientist takes it, a quantum scientist takes it, Thais Shine, and she does her thing and she connects it to the ether. I would call it the ether of biophotons, kind of like consider just in the same principle how your Wi-Fi router is working. There's a physical router there with an antenna, and that's connected to the cloud, bringing the information in. This technology is working in the same exact way, except it's connected to the biophotonic cloud.
Right. Now, our beings, our mind, our eyes, our body has receptor sites for these biophotons.
Correct.
So, how much play does the body have in this as far as receiving the energy that comes from the sphere? Now, what's your name for the sphere?
Eluumis, the
Eluumis.
Eluumis biophoton. Yep.
Right. And it never wears out, it doesn't have to be plugged in, doesn't have to be cleared in the sun. Is there anything else you can do to shine any other kind of light through it? Or is it just once it's connected to the ethers, that's the connection to that cloud you're talking about? So it's a quantum type of a cloud. And it can broadcast anywhere, right? Provided you have a visual side of it.
Correct. That is 100% right. I have combined it with other things. It's absolutely combinable. So let's say, for example, if I flashed a 660 nanometer red light through it, basically the red light frequency will act as an additional carrier to the biophoton. If I combined it with a frequency device, it will make the frequency the frequency will be the carrier for the particle of the biophoton. So it amplifies everything else that you're doing. So I don't one of the things I like to say and differentiate is even though I'm completely different in this world of energy, I am highly complementary. Because I've used this with Raymond Rife technology, and boy, oh boy, it is insanely powerful. I've used this with the EE systems, and you talk about someone walks in there with a biophoton and the EE system cracks on, you'll be in tears because it will be blowing open the emotional body so quickly and cleansing you. It will definitely speed things up. And it all depends as well. Everyone has a different, what I call spiritual antenna. The more that you're doing your inner work and the more that you're in tune with yourself, is the more that you're going to feel this technology. So, yes, you're absolutely right. You are the receiver. And as long as you're connected to it in terms of through a visual aspect, you will get and feel the energy.
Right. Now, the sensational side of it, meaning the sense of it and the sensory stimulation by getting these particles, these charged particles coming to us in the form of a biophoton. What are some of the things that we would notice or expect from, and what have you seen in other people who have been exposed to this from different walks of life?
Man, Ian, this is where it gets interesting. So there is one common denominator that I see across the border. Every single person, 100% of the time of what every single person experiences. And that one common denominator is it instantaneously goes towards calming of the nervous system to take you out of fight or flight. And it balances the central nervous system, it balances the autonomic nervous system. It starts to remove the excess energy that is in the nerve endings. So, and it balances the left and right hemispheres. So, if you really think about that, that is the first line of healing because no matter what you're doing, whether it's stem cells or peptides or vagus nerve stimulation, it doesn't matter. If you're not getting the light down to the atomic structure of who you are, everything number one that you're going to do is going to be extremely temporary, but your nervous system is going to come back to fight or flight very quickly. So the key that everyone feels instantaneously is nervous system coherence, heart brain coherence. So I've never seen anything in the world that takes your nervous system out of fight or flight that quickly. So That's the first thing that people experience. Then, based on where they have blockages, the biophotons, let me say it like this: stem cells follows the same laws and principles as biophotons. It's very similar. It's like the stem cell is the physical manifestation of a biophoton. So we all know when you put a stem cell into your body, it intelligently knows where to go based on where you have inflammation, because that area is releasing heat and inflammation, and the cells are honed to that area like a heat-seeking missile. Biophotons works exactly the same way, except they go to where you have lack of light in the body. So some people feel that very intensely. It can feel like, oh my gosh, I feel tingling in my hands. This is weird. And then it starts to travel up their arms and starts to go to different areas. Some people feel heat, instant waves of heat, hot and cold, and some people feel pulsations. Those are the physical feelings that thousands of people that have tried this technology has experienced.
Right. So it's going to be the autonomic nervous system is obviously a very dysregulated thing right now with most people. And
Yes,
they're in flight or fight and they're stuck and they're kind of on a downward spiral because it's burning them out. And then they
yes,
become stressed. Instead of using the sympathetic to get things done, they're stuck, they're stressed, they're not able to restore under the parasympathetic. So that's depriving them. Now, that would obviously affect their quality of sleep and their circadian rhythm.
hmm
So, what about using the nutrients better in the body when you're in restoration? Because I found that the food I'm eating is far more utilizable if I'm in parasympathetic, rest and restore mostly. Plus, I can handle things that are stressful and I don't get stressed out by them. Whereas other people are completely blowing up and freaking out about even less of a problem. And they go, how do you stay calm? And that's because my coherence has been worked on for a long time. And there's many different ways of working on that. But what you're talking about here is something all encompassing and much more profound. And it's because it's more immediate,
yes,
right? A lot of times it takes a
yes.
while to get into coherence.
That's correct. You hit you're spot on. It's more immediate, because whereas like if you're doing breath work or meditation, you have to do it, right? You have to perform some type of an action to do it. This is like doing it for you. And that's the beauty, because it's doing it for you, because it's putting the original intelligence back down into the atomic structure of your body, and you are activating all of those 1,000 biophotons across all 93 trillion strands of your DNA, and your body is coming back online. It's more about bringing you back to remembrance, right?
Mhm.
And and it shows you. And I say to people all the time, I'm like, could you imagine before all of this this technological era that we're living in, this is probably how our grandparents and great grandparents and great great grandparents felt all the time. Like it's they didn't feel what we're feeling right now. They didn't have nervous system disorder or coherence issues back then. That's only a thing in our lifetime, in our generation, really and truly. So it's really putting you back into that state of supercoherence. And you will see that if you did any type of HRV testing, autonomic nervous system testing, or even brain EEG testing, you will see it right away. It's very evident. So, that's the one thing, because, Ian, you just said it, right? You did a lot of work to bring your nervous system into coherence. You did it, and it probably took years of practice to do that. Do you think the average person in this day and age, in the rat race that we're living in, can afford to do that when it comes to regards, in respect to time?
Right.
Oh,
So very limited amount of resources. So time is ripping by in a blink. That's how they feel. Energy, just physical energy to get stuff done, the effort it takes when you're being bombarded. And then the money that people spend is a lot on things that they're having to compensate for being out of coherence. And that's where the biohacking world exploded because people were like, you can do this, and these are the hacks. And there's an endless number of hacks that cost millions of dollars, actually, if
gee,
you really wanted to spend it. Whereas when it boils right down to the reality, being healthy is very close to being super affordable, like super
correct,
affordable. And the more
correct.
you learn, the more you touch the master keys, the more you tap into the things that make all the difference, the less time, energy, effort, and money that you're going to spend, and you're going to get the major return on your investment because you've hit the jackpot. You're at the top of the pyramid, where it's the smallest amount of space with the most amount of energy. And that's really where people have to. They talk about ascension. Well, getting up above all that noise, because down at the bottom of the pyramid is just massive noise. I mean, you talked about our generations before. They didn't have Wi-Fi, and even before the radio, they didn't have big radio towers blasting them. They're bad. RF is really bad news. Cell towers
It really
are
is. We're living in a microwave. Yeah, I
for
say it
sure.
all the time. We're living in that microwave,
Yeah.
and it's like it creates so much distortion. And the best analogy I can use is I use two or three analogies, and I really work very hard to bridge this information the way people can get it. And it's like, okay, you can have the latest iPhone, I have the latest iPhone, but the network, the network is what's most important,
Mhm.
right? So, and it's the same thing with our cells, like if we don't have that proper communication and intelligence between our cells and our DNA and our RNA and the mRNA and the miRNA, we have nothing. And that's the part of the foundational piece that biohacking is missing, that medicine is missing, that spirituality is missing. This is the missing piece because it's the foundation, right? And there's no biohack in the world you can do. There's no frequency, there's no red light, there's nothing you can do that can affect down to the atomic structure except a particle of light.
Mhm.
And that's why it's one of the most understudied, underpublished, under advertised areas in the world today because it is the missing link.
Right. Yeah, it's a core piece.
It's
Yes.
it's the core piece,
Yeah.
and it's like, if I was to strip everything when I didn't have the biophoton, the two things I'll be doing, breath work and meditation. That's it. I mean, it's really interesting how this is working, Ian, because I've done so much studies and research. I've studied healers. I've done their blood work. I've looked at their blood, their behavior under the microscope. And the things I've seen has just been so fascinating for me that I really understood that energy transfer is a real thing. Transfer of parasites or pathogens is a real thing. Energetic parasites, it's a real thing. And guess what? The other thing I said that really went viral when I said it on Gaia TV was parasites can be streamed.
Mhm.
And it's more than ever. I mean, Ian, have you noticed that before, like prior to 2020, prior to 2019, we had a flu season? You kind of know this is a season when people got sick. Flu season is 365, 24/7. The minute your biofield is weakened and your immune system is compromised, you get sick. You get sick because the pathogens are always there. And your number one defense system is not your immune system, it's your biofield.
Right. Yep.
And I always say the immune system is the house. It's the door that you enter the house, but the biofield is the fence around your house. And so people have to I guess my biggest information, something people should get, is that you have to protect your biofield, and you need to do that. And one of the only ways to do that is through light, because even a lot of these other technologies out there that you have to plug in, I would call it non-intelligent technologies, it gives you temporary resources, but after a while it sucks from your sources, it depletes you because it's too much for the biofield. And I've seen this using use measurement, measuring these things with very specific devices that measures the biofield. So I think people need to stick with the more natural based technologies. And if they're doing other things, you have to do it proportionately. You have to do it, it's not a one size fits all thing. Eat as healthy as you can, eat foods that are rich in biophotons, that are rich in light. Hydration is key. Even having things like, Ian, I use your product every day or every other day. That magnesium, like, it's fantastic. Like, and there's very few supplements that I use, and your product is one of the only things that I've incorporated into my life, because even that one element of magnesium is responsible for over 400 biochemical processes in the body, right? Because it's helping that transfer of the light from the sodium, from that charge in the magnesium, is helping to impart that light back into the cells, into the mitochondria, into the muscle, into the fascia. And I feel the difference when I do that. I just put it, I soak it, I soak my feet in it, so it's absorbed through my soles of my feet.
Yeah,
You know,
yep, that's a good way to do
it's
it. And so
yeah,
these elements, because really the transmission of the biophotons through the technology that is made of the different elements, the crystal, the and so on, is connecting us to the plenum. And the plenum is a word that I think we lost in our vocabulary a long time ago.
completely, completely.
And we need to get it back because the plenum is everything from deep, deep into the soil to all the way past the sun and all the light and all the energy and the heat and the magnetism, the vibration. It's the plenum. And the plenum, 100% of the time, is giving life energy, all the life
Yes,
energy.
yes,
So when you're be able to aggregate that, because not everybody can go to the ocean every day and stand in the sun and get grounded and receive the minerals from the ocean through their feet, like you're doing.
correct,
We had to do the
correct,
extract
correct.
from the ocean because all the other magnesium chlorides didn't work. It had to be from actual seawater with the six
Right.
molecules of water, magnesium chloride hexahydrate, or it didn't work. And we had to prepare it in a spin with a special machine for
Mm,
12 hours to make it receive all the energy from the plenum that's going to deliver it to your body,
yes,
connect you to that energy. So what we're talking about is connecting ourselves back to that energy. And there's fuel, there's spiritual fuel, there's spiritual illness, there's mental fuel, mental illness, otherwise.
yes.
There's emotional fuel, right, which is your autonomic nervous system in or out, right? And then there's physical fuel. And our
Hmm.
physical brains require physical fuel with the energetic fuel, with the light, the biophotons. It feeds on both. And then people will come along and say, no, no, you just need to go keto or you just need to go carnivore and your brain's gonna run on ketones and fat. Yeah, right.
Right, right,
That
right. Yeah, not
right?
it's not gonna happen.
No.
Listen, Ian, I'm so happy we're doing this because this is the information that is unspoken to the masses. And I really hope this podcast gets out there to a lot of people and it resonates. Because I will tell you something, some of the most unhealthiest people I've met, some of the most depleted people I've met are people who are heavy into biohacking, believe it or not.
I totally believe it.
Because they can't sleep, they don't sleep properly, their nervous system is in complete disarray. Their bodies, they look physically great, but they're internally suffering. And then you have guys like you and I who are barely doing quarter of what these people are doing, but we take the right things, we do the right things at the right time, and we focus on the energetic aspect. You know why it works? Because we are 85 or 90% energy and either 10 or 15% physical matter. So we are actually taking care of the parts and the layers that are much more important because only when something starts happening on the physical layer, it's the last layer. So that meant it already happened to 85% of what we are.
Right. Yep.
So who's going to be in better health here? The guy who's slurping on the ketones or the guy who's taking care of the nervous system?
Right. Yeah. That whole thing, we've been just like there's a psyop everywhere you turn within the realm of so-called natural health.
Yes.
And then it becomes very unnatural. And then people are going out and getting Botox, facelifts, liposuction. Are you kidding? They're like, and all these different, like, who knows what they're injecting in their bodies, really? I mean, there's from peptides to you name it, we don't know. And there's things that you can regulate, there's things that you can quantify, but you really shouldn't need them when your body's producing all of the stuff in equilibrium. If you're giving it the right nutrition, like there's a little group that I'm now a part of, and I found out that there's a very specific kind of glucose that goes through a very specific pathway that doesn't jack you up and it can't hurt you. And you need an abundance of it
Mm-hmm.
because your brain actually runs on it. You need about 400 grams of a bank account of straight glucose in the brain. Go figure that. Go try doing keto and carnivore for a while. See what happens to that bank account. And then
Uh-huh.
and then your liver, every cell in your body, and they go, no, well, carbs are really bad. Yeah, carbs are very, very bad when they're the wrong kind and they're converting into the wrong type of sugars. Yeah, you're going to suffer. You're going to burn your body down. But if you throw the baby out with the bathwater and you don't realize that there's a very specific single kind of glucose that your body needs a massive quantity of that allows the body to even convert itself out of type 1 diabetes, which is
Mm.
like, really?
Could you imagine, like, You're probably the only person, except from the Italian scientists that I work with, and I know the glucose you're talking about is actually in the form of enzymatic substrates, which is pure cellular food, and it tastes so sweet. It's so sweet, and people are like, "There's no way this can be good for you." I'm like, "Well, you, be my guest. You keep eating the processed sugars. I'll, you
Yeah.
know,
Well, there's a funny thing, people are afraid of gaining weight. It's like, okay, the whole weight loss industry is a total scam. It's a total scam because each person's body knows exactly the weight it wants to be at that particular time. If they're 600 pounds, their body is 600 pounds for a reason. Doesn't mean that it's good. It just
right,
means that the body had to do that to keep the person alive because they would be dead otherwise. And then when they do the right thing and the body goes back down to 200 pounds, okay, but they didn't do it to lose weight,
right,
right? Because
right,
losing weight, wow. What if you lost, like you said, hydration? Now you're dehydrated, where you weigh a lot less. Your bone density is bad. Now you weigh less. Your muscle mass, the quantity and the quality of your muscle, it might be great big, but they're garbage muscle because they're all torn up. Then, but you weigh less. It's like, okay, forget it. Stop with that. Your body's going to weigh exactly what it's supposed to. And then as you learn, your body will adjust itself.
mm,
Rather than us trying to force something, I have to starve. I can only have so many calories. And right. Okay. So there's master keys and there's knowledge. And I think the more biophotons you have coming in, the more correct glucose you have coming in, your brain is going to go, yeah, right. Okay. Now I'm starting to figure it out a little bit. Oh, it's a lot simpler than what I thought.
right,
Because now
right,
your structured thinking is tapping into the perfect knowledge around us. So what is really happening with your device is it's tapping us into that perfect knowledge. It's almost like an antenna,
correct,
right? Because it's broadcasting information in the biophotons. It's not just a light particle, it's
correct.
information,
Is information
right?
correct?
And I think it's perfect knowledge type information. And that's the difference because anything less than perfect is partial. So
Correct.
perfect means complete. So do you want to run on perfect intelligence or partial intelligence? What would you like?
Yeah.
Right? Do you want to be perfectly healthy or partially healthy?
Right.
Yeah. And
Right.
people say, well, you can't be perfectly healthy. Well, you can't if you say so, but then the only other alternative is partial, incomplete. Wow. Why should we accept that?
Correct.
Our goal should be perfect spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, domestic, and financial health and environmental health as well.
Correct.
But our environments, with all the stupid technologies that they call smart technology, is tearing people to shreds. So we have to compensate for it for sure. I mean, I don't know how now to get rid of all the technology. I can get rid of some of it by plugging straight in. I mean, as soon as we start traveling with this, and then we have to have technology that converts the garbage into at least something that's healthy. So it's not
Yeah.
blasting us with that. So getting this compensation thing happening, how would you rank the technology that you're broadcasting on a compensatory type level of graph?
Rank it in terms of
Like most effective, like things, because we need to be compensated, right?
Ian, it's the most it's 100% hands down the most effective technology in the world, because if you were to take certain measurement devices and you measured your space, the space around you, the room that you're in, the house that you're in, wherever you are, and you measured the space. Coherence is measured by the amount of biophotonic light in that space. The less coherence you have in the space, the more chaos you have in the space. And this shows up if there's multiple people in the room and there's chaos in the room, there's lack of light, there's lack of biophotons. We have had employers that has put this technology inside the office, and within 1 week, they're like, "Oh my god, it's a complete transformation of people's characters and of people's personalities. People were more coherent, even the physical personalities, how they got along, just because the stress was less." So, what I'm saying to you is, at any given moment, we have all of these low vibrational frequencies in our homes through streaming, and even outside of our homes that are penetrating through and through our walls, streaming, harmful electromagnetic fields at any given time in abundance. One of the only things you can do, first of all, you cannot block that. You cannot block EMFs. Okay. It's damn near impossible. And there's a lot of technologies that wants to create a bubble around you and block it. Well, guess what you're also blocking? You're blocking the natural electromagnetic fields from the earth,
Right.
which is, that Schumann resonance field. You're blocking that too. So that's not good for you. So you can't block that. The only one of the only ways, there's only one other scientist that I work with, and he is internationally renowned, and he uses the biophoton in combination with his technology, because he's filtering the EMS from the space. He's converting the sine wave to something that has a static signal to a more coherent signal, and he's done that through hundreds of cities across the world. So he is helping us to bring more coherence into the space by filtering the EMFs. But the biophoton alone within itself is putting so much light particles into the space that the key is to amplify your biofield. So you are increasing your natural defenses against the external forces that are harmful to you.
Right. Now, this device, how do you, percentage wise? So if I had the actual sphere here, the physical sphere, and
Mhm.
or the broadcasted sphere through my computer screen or monitor or whatever, what, because the actual sphere is the full 100%, what percentage is the screen comparatively?
You're still getting the full. You're getting the full blast on the screen. It's coming from the same source, but remember, you're only accessing that twice a day for 30 minutes,
Right.
whereas the sphere is constantly in your space.
Right. Now,
That's the
right.
difference.
So you have a production thing where you can only make so many based on your current production capability, and you have a certain cost to manufacture, a certain cost for a person to acquire that.
Mhm.
And can you give a layout of that? Because so people know the affordability factor for themselves. To me,
Absolutely
it's an investment, not an expense. So I think,
correct.
first of all, going in, what do people have to invest? And what does that look like if it lasts a lifetime or even generations?
Generations.
Right.
So well, first of all, we have two sets of physical devices. We have, which I'll show you, these are what's called the pair matter, Eluumis matter. These are designed you can have it on you at all times, and they're designed to harmonize your current state, whatever state that you're in, whether you're in a state of anxiety, whether you're in a state of depression or happiness or low energy, imbalance of yin and yang, masculine and feminine. These two are designed to currently harmonize and ground you at all times. This Eluumis sky, they all harmonize, but this starts to work at the root of the issue from the atomic structure. And this is emitting a wider field of biophotons into the space. So this will work in the space to start emitting biophotons into space. This one is 4,400, and these two, the pair, are 2,400. So it's not that one is stronger than the other, but they have two completely different functions. So this one is for kind of personal use, I would say. It's good to charge yourself up in the moment. Like I said, bring your state of coherence back online, reduce anxiety, keep calm, keep your nervous system calm, and you have it on you all the time. It's always protecting your personal field. And like I said, the big one is more, this is addressing the entire space.
Right. And how far out would that go? Space wise?
Space wise, I mean, the concentration, just the concentrated zone in and around it is at least 1,000 feet around it. I have people who are very sensitive to energy, qigong masters and martial artists. They walked in, and before they even came to my driveway, they knew there was a field of energy in here. So, I would say one of this, if you have maybe a 3,000 square foot home or something like that, I think one of this will suffice. It's unless you have a really massive home and you want to have one on each floor, then great. But this is something I even put in the room, or I put this in the bed next to me when I'm sleeping, especially if I'm going to a hotel or I'm on an airplane. That's always with me, because I always want to, number one, I'm always keeping myself in a high light, in a state with a lot of biophotons in my biofield, so I'm constantly not absorbing other low vibrational energies. That's a no-no for me. And if I'm in a strange place, first, it's always with me. Like, why wouldn't I want to have it with me if this is what it's doing for me? So that it's part of my life, and it's in 114 cities across the world, in the hands of about 300 people already. And I mean, if you hear our stories, because when someone buys this, just buying it. You're getting a program, you're seeing what it's doing for you, but you're also getting invited into an exclusive community, a Telegram community that only is exclusive to the people who owns the devices. And in there, you're talking about there are doctors in there are people, there are engineers in there are mental health therapists in there are everyday healers in there are healers in there are everyday people in there are farmers in there. And the beauty is to see how each and every single person is using and applying this technology to their field in their area, because it's the uses are unlimited. I mean, I put my water next to that biophoton for a few minutes, 7 minutes. That entire glass of water is completely, it's not just about structure, but what the water is now becoming fourth phase water, which means it has the informational component. So I have a lot of people with animal and farms that they're using this. I mean, growers from major supermarkets are now using this, completely replace their fertilizers. They're charging the water with the biophoton and watering their crops, and it's sprouting like crazy. So we've done a lot. I've done a lot of research applying the biophotons to stem cells, to the vital stem cells. Oh my God, it's completely amplifying the signaling capability of the cell, which makes sense, obviously, because we're showing you where it's even taking a cell that's, it's about to go through apoptosis, which is cellular death, and it's literally bringing the cell back to life with a perfect electrical glow of light around it. Within minutes. I did my skin age test recently. I mean, I'm going to be 47. My skin age is 35.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I know it's because I'm around this all the time. I know it. And your skin tells the truth, right? It's the largest organ. So that's the long and short. And then the stream, we spoke about the physical devices. The stream, our monthly subscription is $77 per month.
Mm-hmm.
That's for the monthly subscription. We have a monthly, a 6 month subscription, which is $333, and a 1 year subscription, which is, I believe, $549. So when you break that down, even at the 1 year subscription, it works out to 70 something cents per session, which is way less than a cup of coffee. So basically, you can have a healer in your back pocket for way less than a cup of coffee every day, twice a day.
Right. Does it work through a phone screen as well as a normal television, or just the bigger the better, or how does it work?
Not necessarily. I mean, the wider. I've done this on stages. I think you know that, with hundreds of people in the crowd, and I've done this. I do it every day from my phone, so it really doesn't matter the size, because it's quantum. Even if you pulled it out on your phone and there were 10 people behind you, they're all gonna feel it. So people can use this. They can pull it up on their anywhere you can access your email.
Mm-hmm.
You can access the stream because it sends the access link to your email. There are no apps to download. There's nothing like that. Everything is fighting for space on your phone. We're not. So straight from the website, you subscribe. It sends you an access link to your email. You go to your email and you hit access stream, and you access the stream. You can mirror it from your phone to the TV. You can put it up on your laptop. There are a lot of ways you can do it, and you and your entire family can sit and enjoy it. Even the animals love it.
Yeah, very cool.
Mm.
That's great. So I'll put some links below. And if somebody were to buy the physical devices, what's the lead time that they could expect upon ordering?
Right now, it's 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, yeah, that's good.
That's the average lead time right now, 4 to 6 weeks. And so yeah, that's pretty much the long issue. And in the meantime, they can always access the stream. Right now, we have a special going on. If you go to biohealingstream.com, everyone, it's not going to be up for long, maybe for another month or so, but everyone can access one free session to at least experience the energy and what it feels like. It's very subtle. You're going to feel calming of the nervous system. My advice is to be hydrated and be in a place where you don't have distractions, so you can really take it in.
Right. And you just have to look at the screen, or do you have to have your eyes open?
For the first 3 minutes, you have your eyes open, and then after that, you can close your eyes because you're.
Right. Yeah, very cool. Yeah. So they would start right away with the stream and then decide if they want to have the physical device, either the one's personal with them or the one for the space they live in. And you haul the big one with you on the plane. You can do carry on,
I do it all the time,
right? It keeps the plane flying so it doesn't crash into a mountain. Huh.
pretty much. I can't take all that credit, but
Yeah.
at least I know I'm protected.
Hmm. Yeah. Very good. Well, that was a good download, because these are things that are in some people's minds very esoteric, very woo woo, and that's okay. That they're not at this place where they
Right.
realize
Yeah.
that the
Yeah.
invisible is far more real than the visible.
Yeah,
Right.
you're right.
Right. And this has a
Right.
visible and invisible component. But when you can spiritually see what's going on, it becomes visible to you in
Yes.
a sensory way. that is just different. Like you said, somebody pulls up and they feel the energy coming off, and you can't make that stuff up. It just
No.
is what it is. And people are so contaminated with false information and toxins and frequencies that are messing them up, they've lost their sensitivity. And it's not even their fault. We don't
Mm,
blame them. People
correct.
go, "Whoa, too bad for you." No, they've been pounded on. The world is
Yeah.
just pounded on crazy level, and more every year, of people just being compromised with all of the agendas and the false narratives and the
Yeah.
mainstream, the mental viruses, the spiritual parasites. They're powerful. And we have to have
It's
a
very powerful.
Yeah, we have to have a super immune system that can prevent them from getting access to us, to give us fear, to give us anxiety, to give us trepidation is not required because it doesn't help. What does it help to be anxious, fearful, or in trepidation? That's not serving you. So we want to be calm, clear, and collected. You could give an example of a five-star general. If a five-star general ever loses their cool, if they don't stay calm and more calm when the chips are down and the pressure's on, they are demoted immediately. Because the reason they got to the five-star level, and I'm not for the military and I'm not for that. I'm just an example. They're
Sure.
demoted immediately. Some sergeant, lieutenants freaking out and swearing and yelling at everybody and having a fit. Okay, that's what they expect from that level. We want to be at the five-star general level with our health, with our being, with our body, with our family, calm, collected, sincere, sober, and happy
Yes.
all at the same
It's
time.
important. So you gotta be in that state of joy. No
Yeah,
question about that.
for sure.
Yeah. Good
All right.
deal.
Well, that was really good. I knew this was going to be a very solid, deep conversation, and it turned out to be even more than what I thought. And I'm really grateful for your intel on this, and that you've been led to this. This is not
Yeah.
you're
No,
not taking credit
yeah.
for it. You're like you were
No.
shown this,
No.
and it's
This is not
wonderful.
textbook material. This was given to me. It's all through download. It's all through channel, and I'm just a tool.
Yep.
Just a tool.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're all little channels that people can tap into to get away from the channels where spells are cast. You know,
Yeah.
there's a
For
different kind of broadcast, people.
Yeah, for sure.
All
For
right.
sure.
All right. So, yeah, well, everyone who's listening, make sure, check it out. You'll pick up the energy off this right away, just off the broadcast. And we will catch up to you again soon. And Gary, we'll keep in touch to learn more as you're seeing the broader spectrum of the results with more people, because now you can get a bigger audience, a much bigger audience. And so once we subscribe to the broadcast, does that give us access to the Telegram channel as well?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes. You'll automatically receive an email giving you access to the Telegram group, and boy, you're gonna see some stuff there. I think it's gonna change your world. I mean, how we bridge this information is very, very unique. Put a different twist on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm very grateful to have met you in 2023, and now we're ready to go. And yeah, it's
Absolutely.
wonderful. Beautiful.
You too, brother. All right,
Gary.
Ian.
Okay. Well,
Thank you for this opportunity.
yes. Yeah. And we'll catch up to you again very soon.